Hey everybody, it's Noah. It's another episode of Zone Podcast. Got an interesting one this today. We got a big, huge group over here. So I'll let everybody introduce themselves. So I guess Paul, introduce yourself, like kind of what's your story and where's everything like that.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll start, then I'll pass it along to my partner. So my actual birth name was Pavlodar Svitovsk Nashuk. I was actually born within the Ukraine. So I spent about 6 years of my life down there living with my grandparents. My mom actually did like one of the bravest things imaginable, where at 3 years old, she left her child there in the care of her grandparents, with not even like the knowing, with just the hope to have a better life for me. So she went at 3 years old, took a train. I still vividly remember her taking that train. And, as a child, you don't really know if you'll ever see her again or back. But, she's one of the strongest women I've ever met in my entire life. She pulled through and she managed to bring me over here by herself with no support. So, it's very inspiring to see like the dedication and drive that she had. And then for me, so I had my own things. I had my own experiences, and it was very difficult for me when I first came to Canada because at 6 years old, you don't really have any sort of like identity. So here I am at 6 years old, this little Ukrainian boy, and for me, it's like, well, now I'm in Canada. I gotta adjust. I have to become like I guess a Canadian too. And throughout my entire life, I was a little bit like it's a little bit difficult because at one point you were born in Ukraine and now you're in Canada, so you don't really know who you are. There's different cultural differences, so there's a bit of like a identity crisis at that point. So as I was going through that, I was always a little bit different. I always want to do things differently, and I think a part of that is because I grew up in these two different cultures. But the one thing I knew for sure is that I want my own thing. I want my own business. And even at a young age, I would go out. I would shovel snow with my buddies. I would rake leaves. I would like get out all these little like puzzles and toys that I wasn't using, go door to door and sell them. And throughout all that, I was always a bit entrepreneurial. And in university, always tried to start new things, failed a lot of the times. And what I've learned is basically like the entrepreneurial journey. It's actually the biggest and best way to self-develop, because as you're starting something new, you come into confrontation with all your emotions and all your challenges from all over, and you have to grow past them to grow. So after that, I did tree planting for 4 years, where all my friends were doing stuff in university, like they were doing internships and they were doing work there, and I said, no, let me plant trees 4 years. But when you're out there in the middle of nowhere, with no cell phone service, planting trees all day in the cold rain or the heat and all the bugs, like you really find out who you are as a person, and you also really find out it's like I don't want to do this crap anymore. Like I don't want to ever have to work so hard, break my back, because I'm seeing people that are like 60, 65 years old still working that same job, and just seeing like the age in their eyes and almost like the lifelessness. So I never wanted to do that. Out of school, I after that I took a job in marketing. So I was doing that for a bit, but still, like, it was always a step in the right direction, or a stepping stone. And I starting my own business. So instead of doing a service route, I did the hardest possible thing. I said, you know what? Instead of drop shipping, let me create and manufacture my own product. Let me go through the whole issue. And anyways, I decided to do a wood hat, and learning manufacturing, how it works in China, and getting new customers and clients. I really built up this knowledge of like how business works, and I made every single mistake in the book. And like finally, I got the product ready here. But then around this point, I moved out of my parents' house and I moved in with my business partner Hamza. And one day I remember we were basically sitting around the fire, and me and him were just like, we're working at our jobs, and we're just fed up, man. We're like, why are we sitting here taking, like, putting the best years of our life to help this other business, this other company grow? And we're sitting around the fire, and I remember we gave ourselves a look. We're like, let's do something together, and let's get out of this, as they call the matrix. And after that, we basically shook hands, and that was the birth of this company right now. And I'll pass it along to Hamza and Daniel to share their beginning journeys as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Paul. And my name is Hamza. I currently I work in a bank in Toronto, And my journey goes back. I came to Canada back in 2016. I completed my O levels and A levels back in Pakistan. And Daniel's my friend since high school. So ever in high school, we would always like talk about like starting something of our own. Even at that time, we were sitting, we were like, man, every time we would like sit together and talk, we would like, man, we want to like do something different, start our own business. I remember in O levels, we started like a jackets brand. Then we started a food on wheels brand. We started like a lot of like small different things to see how like businesses work and what do we need, and how to like actually be more successful and get out of that 9 to 5 in the future and start our own things. 2016, I like left everything, came to Canada to do my undergrad over here. I studied engineering, and after I graduated, I remember recently I went back to Pakistan, and me and Daniel were like talking about, what, like, man, we did our graduation, that's good. We're working now, but it's, I think it's really time to like let's start building something again from scratch. And at that point, recently, like Pakistan is going through a very bad economic situation. There's not a lot of jobs. There's not a lot of opportunities, and Daniel's been like running a couple different businesses over there for the longest time. And he was like, man, I have this whole team fully talented. There's a lot of people over here. The talent is amazing, but there's no opportunities. Businesses don't want to like, they don't have money to spend because of the economic situation, because of the political situation. And he said, you know what, Hamza, this time you're going back, try to find something or look for something that we can do by having a like Canada Pakistan partnership, something you're doing over there, and we can build our teams, or we can like have like impact on the families within Pakistan. Because I try to like convince him, hey man, you know what, why don't you like travel to North America and then we can do something here. But Daniel was like very persistent on, what, man, like I know, like, it's hard in Pakistan, but I don't want to leave my country and I want to stay here. I have like their families I'm feeding because I employ a lot of people, and I want to like keep that, like and his thought like really moved me. I was like, um, you know what, this is amazing. And I, being a Pakistani, also wanted to be part of something that we wanted to like make an impact towards these families who do not or can't actually leave their homes and move to different countries because of the responsibilities they have, because of their parents, because of their wives, their children. And with that thought, I just came back to Canada. And as like Paul mentioned, we were like one day it was a gathering. I didn't really know Paul. We were sitting beside a fire. We started to talk, and it's interesting because every time I would talk, I'll bring up this like um, topic with people to understand their mindset, right? Like, hey, like, is there anything on the side you're doing apart from what you like do in your daytime, like any side hustles? And Paul mentioned about his like hat thing and the product he's developing. He told me about this like crazy like hats that he's trying to produce, and he has a special like niche market for it. And at that time, he was also working in a marketing company. And I remember like he talking to me like, man, I have this great idea and I'm building everything on my own, but I don't really have a team to like implement or like fulfill all the orders he's getting. And suddenly like the thought struck to me, and I was like, Paul, like, would you be willing to like have a team work for you in Pakistan? Because I have Daniel, and he has a whole like marketing company, and there's a whole team who's working, and they've built a lot of brands. Maybe you can try it out. And Paul was like, yeah, man, like, you know what? I think that would be great. And as Paul said, we shook hands, we set up a meeting. And that same weekend, we had that meeting, me, Daniel, and Paul. And that's how, like, yeah, talent trellis came into play. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a bit of the I'm hoping Daniel can add in.
Yeah, so basically, I am living from like the start from in Pakistan. I had no plans to go out ever. I completed my studies here, and literally it was always like because I literally loved everything here. I've been brought up here. My dad is a businessman, and it always like had that understanding of me. Like I always wanted to become a businessman. I'm never going to do job for someone else. So after like even in O levels, yes, as Hamza told you, like we planned for some different businesses, but Hamza left the country, and then I got into graduation. Then after my graduation, within my graduation, I started my travel agency, and I had a good PR in my country. So, like, I set up a record here in my own city. I had the biggest tour of that time, and then I started that with my company, but it went well. I have like different corporate companies in my panel. I dealt with like top companies of Pakistan, and then after that, like I started with my own marketing agency as my brand was growing really good. I started my marketing agency, so I thought like if I can grow my brand, I can grow other brands as well. So after that, when I started that agency and COVID came in, so after COVID, like the opportunities in Pakistan really like shook up, and you can say like well, even the economic crisis came. People like our clients left. Many of the opportunities, like people stopped spending money. So at that point, I realized that there are many like I had like at that point I had like 12 employees and I was feeding all of them. So I always used to think like these all guys are really talented, and if I just lose them here, I won't be able to get this much of talent in such a good way. So I always used to think, and I literally went into depression at that point. I was like, bro, this is not coming up. I need to now. At that point, I was thinking like to leave my country now. But at that point, like Hamza came in, and he said the same thing, like, bro, you have something, you should come to Canada or somewhere else, like go to Dubai, uh, like you can build a lot of things. But then I told him, like, bro, the feeling I have here in my own place, because I have been doing stuff here. I know how to do business here. I know how to cater teams here. I have been dealing with them since my childhood because I started at like 18. I started doing business at 18. So I discussed all team, all I showed him my office. I showed him my processes, everything. So Hamza was really like, I knew one thing, like he's my only friend who can understand my situation at this point. So I was like, bro, help me with this. I have some content writers. If you want, we can like ask people to make content, and we can like take clients from Dubai or US or Canada, whatever you say. So it was like under consideration, and then he came back to Canada, and then one day he just called me and he was like, "Bro, I think we are going to do it." And then then me, Paul, and Hamza had a meeting, and then I told them about the team here, how about the opportunities in Pakistan, how people like people from other worlds see like there are no opportunities, no internet connections, or some problems like that. But I believe like Pakistan is the most, you can say, is the most undiscoverable place right now. Why? Because people are like too much talented and they have no opportunities to go out, and they're just wasting their talent here doing stuff for such companies, those who don't even understand their like creation or creativity. So at that point, we like me, Paul, Hamza, I introduced them to my team, and they all were excited. We started with like I think Hamza should tell you this better. We started with a marketing agency in the start,
Yeah.
named Vibe Media.
Yeah.
So
Vibe
with
Media.
Vibe Media,
Yeah.
yeah. So we started with Vibe Media, and Vibe Media was like it was good, but it was something like we are doing the same thing every other company is doing. Like we are
Yeah.
getting the clients, we're telling them like this, we can do your content creation, we can do your marketing, we can get your sales and everything. But then I think when we got our first client, uh, that was a point I think that really changed our perspective regarding marketing, and that really changed our perspective what we really want to do, and what's the point of like what's the point of doing business if we are not providing any value, if we're doing the same thing on and we are doing the same stuff every other company is doing. Like there are a lot of companies in Pakistan, Dubai, like in every other countries, like there are people calling every day telling you about your marketing agency, like, hey, how we can help you. So at that point, we just sat down and we discussed our vision. We discussed like what are we actually going to do. And because I really like this idea of Hamza, like he's always pointing at the point, like what's the vision or what's the value you're providing. And Paul was always like, bro, I think like it's time that we need to shift. And I think Paul
I
can
actually,
adding to this about our client
yeah,
where we
yeah.
actually shifted.
I actually remember this very vividly. So, because I worked in a marketing agency, I think I know how it works. So that's why
Yeah.
we decided to start the marketing agency. And there's actually one thing I want to add that I've just kind of figured out. You know, me, Hamza, and Daniel, we have a company in us. Like that drive, like the spirit that
Yeah.
forms a company is within us. It just takes many forms and it's like evolving until it found this specific form. But for Vibe Media, me and Hamza, we're literally walking the streets and we're like, hey, knocking on doors, knocking on business. Hey guys, we provide these services. And everyone's kind of just like basically like, yeah, whatever, every other business gets the same kind of stuff. We're like, okay, well, and the thing is, like, I know some people who go through that, they just become discouraged and then they just drop down to the bottom. But me and Hamza and Daniel were like, you know what? There might be something else. And so I remember it was me and Hamza. We were sitting in the kitchen upstairs. We were talking. And then Hamza told me, hey, listen, I know we're doing Vibe Media, but there was a lot of different talent within Pakistan, and there's a lot of because the education system is absolutely phenomenal. Instead of selling this marketing service, why don't we help clients who need someone skilled? Why don't we help people by providing value, by providing the labor and connecting the talent to the people that are already have this, right? So we thought about it a little differently. And then I have this one thing that's really stuck with me. So my brother, he has a marketing agency too, and he said this one thing to me that blew my mind. And he said, when you see an opportunity, you grab it by the balls. And when Hamza said that, I was like, you're right. It clicked off. This is it. And it just so happened that very same day, it was the same day, I had this meeting with one of our now clients, very, very inspirational person, very interesting story. But we were just meeting, talking. We got along really well along really well about our stories, and we got into a lot of spiritual topics, like kind of like me and when we first like got on that first call. Remember that? So what happened was she was very she had a very successful business. I don't want to mention everything here because I didn't ask her. So she had a successful business. She had some very good, like she was on Oprah. She had like some deals with the NBA. So she was up there. And I noticed like she had this stress about her because she was trying to do everything herself. Like her business was an extension of her and she really wanted to micromanage. And we're just like talking about spiritual concepts. And I'm basically saying, well, like, the more you let go and the more you allow other people to and trust other people to do their work, the more order you will have in your life. So we basically said, hey, like, what do you hate doing? What's the one thing that's taking up so much space? And she basically mentioned email marketing. And that same night, boom, boom, me, Hamza, Daniel connected, found the person, boom, client, basically like in the next week. And that's how this whole thing started. Like,
you guys are basically just fixing problems for everybody. Like you're going through and you're figuring out where the actual problem is in their business and figuring out what the thing that they hate the most. And then you're like, hey, let me find somebody who's actually like really talented in this space and who's like passionate about this space. And they're going to do that well, even better than that person who first was doing it. Cause they're not doing it. Like they don't really want to do it. So yeah, that's awesome. I had one thing.
It sounds so cliche. I was gonna say it sounds so cliche because they say look for the pain points, but I think what happens is when a lot of people when they're going with their clients and they're talking about the pain points, they're so focused by finding this script that they don't look at the person's facial expressions and like follow the flow of where their pain is, in my opinion. Sorry, Daniel, what were you gonna say? Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
Oh no, nothing.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it. Even that's why sales is so good because you're like you actually learn how to read these people instead of going off of a script. And I think that's awesome that you did door to door. It seems like everybody does door to door. Like that first thing of like, hey, I'm just gonna get out there. And then I had a question, going through all of your guys' stories, like how did you maintain a really good partnership between all of you? Because it seems like all of you guys are like entrepreneurs going forth. Like how did you maintain the partnership between each other?
I would say the one big
Yeah.
thing is trust. Trust like really comes into play. and having the right mindset, right? Like me and Daniel, we've known each other for a very long time, and I would say like I completely trust this guy with my life. Like if anything were to happen and I had to call that one person, I think it would be like Daniel. And when I met Paul, sometimes you feel that energy with when you meet the right people. When I talked with him regarding like entrepreneurship, when I talked with him regarding the the purpose of his life, what he wants to do, and the work he was doing. So we kind of really aligned in what we wanted in life, right? And I think that's where it started. We became friends immediately. And then the first call we had with Daniel, and the crazy thing, Paul has never met Daniel in person, but and we started this whole business. We did like our contracts, everything like just virtually. And today, like yesterday, Paul and I were talking, and he said, "Man, it feels like I know Daniel for a very long time, even though we never met."
Yeah.
And you were planning like you were like, guys, we have to like plan something together, maybe like in a different country when we go like in different expos or stuff. You'll meet in person. But it's crazy, like we're in this business like I think 6 months now, and these two guys have never met each other, but the energy is there. They like trust each other completely. I
Bro,
think we
yeah.
never like have problems. Yeah, obviously there are conflicts within businesses, but it's how you solve it. And I think our communication is key.
Yeah.
What's like gets us going like every day.
Okay.
I
I
remember
think it's also
this interesting thing. I remember this interesting thing. Like when Paul like mentioned Paul, like when Hamza mentioned Paul about me. So he basically said like, "Hey, I found a person who have the same energy like you. So I think he can be the best fit for our third partner." And when I talk to him now, I can actually relate everything with Paul. Like he you can say he's the Canadian version of me. So I'm the Pakistani guy, he's the Canadian guy, and we have the same version, but different, like different countries, different everything is different, but we have the same like same energies, same energies.
the same spirit. That's the thing. Like the
Yeah,
spirit remains the same.
exactly.
It's just the
Yeah, that's
form
right.
the spirit takes on is different because of the environment. I think one of the reasons that actually we have a very strong partnership is because like we'll fight, and like if these guys say something and I say I think that's dumb, I'm gonna tell you that's dumb. But I think they understand that like it's not that I'm saying you're dumb. It's the frame of I'm challenging you to back up what you're trying to say. Because if you can't back it up to me or to anyone else, then you don't really know it, right? So I think, and
Yeah.
it's like we don't fight, like we don't take it into personal. We take it as in like, hey, like we're trying to do the same thing. If he's challenging me and I can't provide an answer, I better have an answer ready because that, and like it's that simultaneous flow, but it's the frame of we're in it together. But I mean, if you look at the tallest trees, trees will only grow tall when they're beside other trees. The smallest trees are alone in deserts. So you can either be a small tree in a desert, or you can be one of the tallest trees in a forest because they're all competing for sunlight, but at the same time they all grow together. So that's what I'm thinking. We're basically all together and we're growing together as opposed to being like, for another word of it, is a big fish in a small pond, right?
Yeah, like even you can go far alone, but you can go further together, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So you guys said something interesting. You said you're like the same sort of people, except even though you're far away. Like, do you think I've had some people on who are saying like there's an entrepreneurship gene? Because even Daniel, you said that your dad was a businessman as well. Do you guys believe?
Yeah, yeah. What did you say? Can you repeat?
Do you believe in like an entrepreneurship sort of gene that's just in within you, and that's just how you
Bro,
are?
I think I totally believe in it. Like when you are surrounded by people, those who have that same mindset, it gets onto you. Like whenever you guys like, if I am an entrepreneur and I'm sitting with my friends, if I'm sitting with a friend and I'm talking about all of this, he will eventually become a 50% version of me. And if you have that thing in him, he will actually become me. So it's all about like who are you sitting with, and I totally believe in that thing. Like it's in basically it's in the vibe. Like if
Yeah.
you're sitting with
Yeah.
someone, it's in the vibe.
I actually have an interesting perspective on this because I was actually just studying epigenealogy. So I heard that so people can have the gene for say like disease or the gene for certain traits or like the gene for entrepreneurship. But what ends up happening is it's the environment that signals the gene. So some people can have the entrepreneurial gene within them, but if they're never in an environment is either what's happening consistently around you or internal, because internal chemistry and all that. If you're never in an environment that basically turns on or upregulates that gene, it'll never happen. So the same thing with disease. You might have the disease, say for cancer, or well, not cancer, but you might have a gene for a disease. But if you're in an environment where it upregulates it, you'll get it. But if you're in an environment, internal chemistry, emotional, where it's not, you won't get sick. So I think in a way that, yes, there is a gene, and it just so happened that we found the right environment to turn it on.
Yeah.
Do you guys think like entrepreneurship is cool now? Like it used to not be so cool, and now a lot of people are. Do you think? Honestly, my personal opinion is that we're gonna go into a world of an independent contractor world, where it's just like everybody does their own independent thing, just like what we used to do when we came to the fire and traded. Like, hey, I have cattle here, I have wood here. Let's go ahead and do this trade, and let's work together on this project. Do you guys kind of believe in that?
I'll actually take the first question where you said like entrepreneurship is cool. I think like the dream that you see on like Instagram, you see like everywhere on like reels of like making 100 million or like a couple 100 million, having all those Ferraris, cool houses by becoming a CEO or becoming an entrepreneur. I think that is like the wrong dream they sell to people. I think entrepreneurship is a lot about like loneliness, like taking the journey all alone, fighting within your mind, and like losing a lot of like great friends, losing and hurting your relationships, your love relationships. I think when you're on this journey, you have to know like it's a lot of sacrifice. It's you're sacrificing your weekends. You're not actually going to go to party on like a Friday, Saturday night. You have to come out of that. You have to like wake up at 4 a.m. So a lot of late nights, especially like if you're working a job full time and you're trying to set up your own business. You're working full time and then you're spending another 7 to 8 hours in your business, because if you're not going to do that, then you're not going to reach the journey. I think a lot of the people, everyone loves the result, but no one loves the process, right? So if you really want to be an amazing entrepreneur and you want to make it, you want to get to that 1%, you really need to be in love with the process of being an entrepreneur and being a successful businessman. So I think and you need to you're going to live it every single day of your life. When you become successful, you can never switch off. I think that's what we all talk, like me and Paul and Daniel, we talk about it. We're like, man, even when we have weekends, like there are no weekends you can switch off. You're always going to be within it. There's no vacation. Yes, you have that flexibility of going anywhere, but even when you're there, your mind's not. Right? Sometimes I like hang out with my friends, and then we're having a chat, and I'm still like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about my business or our employees or the problems you're facing. And sometimes they'll say, man, like you're actually here, but you're actually not here. Like mentally, you're somewhere else. It's like you're not like physically, you're not like present in the moments when you're like doing things, because you're always like focused on, hey man, what's next? Hey man, like how are we gonna fix these problems? Because being a businessman, being an entrepreneur, you have like client problems. Yeah, you have like employee problems. There's a lot of like people issues that you have to deal with on a daily basis, and you always have to make sure that, and you always have to be like selfless, right? You have to think about them first rather than you. So every decision you make, you make it in favor of your clients and in favor of your employees. So that's what I would say.
And I believe sorry, Paul, you can speak.
No, go ahead.
So I believe like success is in the process. It's not in a destination. It's not something we have to reach. It's in the process. Like if you're loving the process, it's a success. Otherwise, you won't be able to reach a destination you can call like, I am a successful person. It's all in the process.
The man who likes walking instead of that destination walks further.
And here's the thing I learned about entrepreneurship. Here's why a lot of people don't want to do it, because entrepreneurship is consistently every single day confronting your faults and your inadequacies all the time. It's all the time, because at the end of the day, if you're not working, if your business is not working, it's you're not working. If there's chaos in your business, there's chaos in you. everything's simply a reflection of what's going on within your internal state. So, and additionally, like they say that a lot of people's genetic potential is actually halted because the thing that alters your genetic expression is the experiences that you put yourself in, and those experiences are not comfortable. And so I would say that like the process of entrepreneurship is actually like one of the processes of just evolution in general, because you're constantly confronting your faults, you're constantly changing your chemistry, you're constantly putting yourself in new environments, and when you're putting yourself in new environments, more of your genes that are laid dormant are turned on. So you actually become more of a full-fledged being the more you put yourself in these situations. But the problem is not a lot of people want to confront that. It's hard to sit there and be like, I got some faults and I got inadequacies, and it's easy to blame it on someone else, but it takes a responsibility to be like, yes, man, like everything's my fault. Everyone creates their reality. Only successful people admit it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, like you are. I would like my best definition for power is thoughts to reality. So as long as, and that's why salespeople are so powerful. That's why entrepreneurs are so powerful, and profits over wages is just because you're able to like create your own stuff and become more of like a creator.
Yeah.
I think that's why even YouTubers as creators are making so much money. It's just because there's like two main pillars. I don't know if you know Naval Ravikant, but like he talks about those two top pillars, which is media and code. And so I think that's why they become so powerful. But
Yeah.
also friends. I want to go back to like partnerships and like how do you think being friends going into business was a problem at all? And then also, because like you still have those kind of things of what your old life is like. You think that was? Did you guys struggle with that at all?
Uh,
Well, I don't know about you guys, but like these guys will tell you, like I basically wear my faults on the sleeves. They're very well aware of all my inadequacies and all my faults, right? And but they help. Not only do I grow from that, they help push me up, right? And it's like there's a different frame of mind. You can look at something as like, oh, why is he doing this to me? I deserve better. Or you can be like, listen, man, like this is putting internal pressure to become the person I said I wanted to be. And if Hamza and Daniel said, hey, I want to be this person, and their actions aren't aligning, they understand that when I'm on their ass, it's because I want them to be the person they know they're going to be. So I think at the end of the day, it's the frame. When you can do anything as long as the frame is accurate, I would say, right?
They even say not to live with like they say not to room with friends because then you won't be friends afterwards. But as long as you're able to create, you're saying as long as you're able to create that frame of this is what it is, then you're saying you can get past those things. Because even
Yeah.
me, I have one of my partners is actually a friend first, and then my other partner was a friend afterwards, and the relationship is different. But I guess creating a different frame, because that's even me personally asking, because I've noticed that my friend, like when in high school, we have all those like my old personality still in his brain, and my new
Yes.
personality is different. When I go talk to people that knew me back in high school, they're like, "Who's this guy?" So he still has both of those in his mind. So it's like, I don't know. I want to. I want
Yeah,
to.
100%. I think I'll take that. Yeah, you're right. Like, I think like for a lot of people, when you come into a partnership and you come within like doing a business together, your friendship is then you think kind of differently. It really like reminds me of the time. So when I was, I'll just put it in Daniel. So when I was like coming to Canada, me and Daniel, like we still have a contract. So he made me sign a contract because he feel like this guy's leaving and I don't know if he's gonna come back or whatever. And then we signed a contract, and then in that contract there were a lot of things mentioned, like doing a business at 26. It's funny because right now we are 26 each, and we are doing
yeah.
this. And he sent me a photo of that contract. I was like 7, 8 years old, and then he wrote like, okay, we're not getting married before this age. We're not getting engaged before we like travel the world. Um, you're not we have to be like successful, and no getting a lot into like girls because like girls like uh, I don't know if I should say this on a podcast.
No, that's an interesting
Like,
aspect. I want to go deep into
like
that.
if you get too much into girls, we're not gonna focus and we're gonna waste our pennies. We're not gonna build something, and then we have to do a business at this age. So he wrote like a lot of things. I think there were like 10 points he made me sign before I actually like left to Canada at the airport. And I'm like, okay, Hamza, like signing this contract, and I like swear to my life I'll not do these things before we and I'll maintain the contract, right? And it's crazy because like even like we are friends and business partners, I think it really for us both it really doesn't make a difference because even today like sometimes he's trying to be lazy, sometimes I'm trying to be lazy, and then like there's one person who like always kicks others ass. Like he's if because we have different time zones, so sometimes it's 4 a.m. in Pakistan and like 3 p.m. in Canada, and like I am so like energetic, I full energy, and he's trying to sleep, and I'm like, bro, don't you remember the contract? You want to be successful, billionaire. This is not how This is not how entrepreneurs are made. You have to like wake up every single night. And then he's like, bro, it's 4 a.m. I work like 12 hours, and then I'm trying to like push him. And the good thing, he doesn't take it in a bad way. And when I'm having the same problem, like I'm like, man, I worked whole day, like I need some rest, man, I need to like sleep. And he's like, bro, okay, that's it, you're not gonna do it. I don't think you can become, just forget that idea, bro. Like you're not gonna be this. So I think it like it made our actually friendship really strong. And you know what, like I have a lot of friends within Pakistan, I have a lot of friends within Canada, and not I'm not going to do business with every friend that I have because I know the personalities, right? If I do, there are a lot of friends right now who if I do business with, our friendship will suffer for sure. But I think
Yeah.
Donna is like the only person was my only friend who would I like do business with, and that's what we are doing. So yeah, I think like it has actually made our bond as a friend better, since we like became partners. And we're because we know we all, like even like Paul, we have the same goal, right? So we want to reach a certain stage, and it's
Yeah.
just like all three of us pushing each other to like make that happen, to take like that one
Yeah.
step every day, and like try to reach or become a better version of ourselves every day. And I think that motivation, that drive, just like keeps us going. And that's one of the reasons that our friendship did not suffer, and I really hope it does not in the future.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even with
I
that,
think I
like,
think also
what's up?
I was gonna say, just for Noah, to answer like your actual question, I would say that like if you're going to business with a friend, you should be like, okay, who do you want to be in this time, and who do I want to be in that time? And then every time one of you does not behave like that person, hey, like what's going on? Like chin up, slap on the face, like chin up a little bit, right? But the frame is, it's not, hey, your fault. The frame is, you're not the person you said you want to be. So here's a gentle correction in the right direction.
I can definitely tell Paul's the one who's like the motivational speaker of the group.
You got it. You got it, bro.
Let's go. Well, that brings me to my next question, like having different jobs as heads of the company, because I know, do you guys think like having, so my kind of ideology of partnerships is we got our specific roles in the company, right? We have the person who's following up with customers, who's basically running all the grinder in the business, and then you got the guy who's doing like the marketing, and you got the guy who's doing like the technical. Do you guys
Yeah.
stay in those lanes, and how important is it to stay in those lanes?
I would say in terms of lanes, yeah, we at first we didn't really have our lanes. We were kind of doing a bit of everything, but then we realized like we were getting into more arguments than would be like productive. So then we said, okay, well, Paul does marketing. He was in marketing. He has a lot of experience in this. Anything to do with marketing, that'll be in his lane, and his word will stay, right? Anything to do with like people, motivation, and operations, like Daniel's really good at finding the right people. He's fantastic at recruiting. So anyone in terms of like, if he has a gut feeling about someone, and I think opposite, I would trust him. And Hamza's to the point. He's great in finances. He works at the bank. So, and he's much more process and structure orientated. So if it's something to do with that, like I'll default to Hamza. So we do kind of have our lanes. Or if you guys want to add a
And
little bit to that.
I think we never really discussed all of this. We just knew like in what category are we following in. So we just followed that and we never discussed it. Like we from the start we knew like Paul is good in marketing. Hamza is going to have going to deal with finances. I'm going to deal with operations and team. And we all knew that from the start because I think like you got the idea like who's the motivated one, who's talking like that, and who's doing what. So it's this that it's basically about our personalities, and we really never discussed that.
Okay. So it kind of just naturally fell into place.
Yeah.
We just always take initiatives in things we are more like that are more of our strengths, and we all cover each other's weakness, and I think that's the best part. So we are like
Yeah.
all of us have like different strengths, like Paul, like in marketing and talking to people, and Daniel, like dealing with the team in Pakistan, handling operations and getting things done. Like he knows like how to like get things done in a certain time. He has that thing in him, and I'm basically more in like in finance because I have a banking background. I understand like how things work. Sometimes we do have like when we sign contracts, we have conflicts, and I'm telling them, hey guys, this is a number we need to achieve, and this is what we need to have our focus in because this is what will drive the company and drive our growth, right? um, and like overall having a whole structure and the vision and the strategy of the business, because even in my daily work I deal with businesses. So I work as a business advisor, so I deal with entrepreneurs and businesses all the time. I see like what different structures are there, how do they work, what are the best practices, because I learn from them, I talk with them on a daily basis, so I understand that well. So, and I think like every time, even in client meetings and things like that, we know like which questions which person's going to take on. So anything
Yeah.
that relates to like ads, marketing, media buying, things like that, Paul is on it because I know he knows, and we trust each other. So like he's the guy for it, he manages our marketing team, and he's going to be able to like answer and tell the client what's going on. Anything comes on day-to-day basis, day-to-day activities, conflict management within employees, operations, getting things done, technical, it's like always on L. When it comes to like overall structure and the organization and building partnerships,
Mission, values, that's you.
and then those things I'll take on. So I think for us, like it just like came naturally, but obviously we have like defined things, and everyone knows what they're good at and what they do.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a mission
what?
statement?
Pardon?
Do you guys have a mission statement for the company?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think I don't have that pulled up, but basically we help North American companies build teams internationally. And specifically, right as of now, we have started with Pakistan. So we
Yeah.
want to like we have a special market that's like small and medium-sized businesses. A lot of those companies who do not have the resource or do not want to like get involved in like hiring a full-time person, dealing with like medical benefits, dealing with like vacation pays, like HR management. Because when you're a one-man show, let's say you have a burrito place, now you are really good at making burritos, but you're not the best at like managing your brand, right? And we want these business owners um, to like outsource or give everything to us so they can build the best product or they can do what they're best at, and that's their business. And we help them build their brand, have make sure that they have the right people. And that's exactly like in out staffing, we tell them, okay, we do a whole analysis and tell them, hey, do you need a finance guy, do you need a marketing manager, do you need a performance marketer? And we, with our discovery calls with clients, we discover that and we make sure they're seamlessly integrated within their systems and they're able to work for them. Regarding the time, and we're very flexible, like these companies can work on contracts, they can work part-time, they can work full-time, and there's no risk involved. So it's not like they have to like do minimum 2-year contract with us. We're very flexible. So these give business owners, like especially in these like uncertain times since COVID, we are trying to like help these businesses like grow and be their best.
And additionally, in terms of that, like Noah, we talked a little bit about this in our first call. Like we really believe in giving, and we think that like one of the it's so cliche. Tony Robbins said it all the time, but the secret to living is giving. And it's so true. Like nothing lives for itself. Nothing that's alive and growing eats its own fruits. A tree does not produce its own fruits. It gives them away freely. So in the spirit of that, in the spirit of nature, in the spirit of growth, we also want to give back a lot. And I think we're working on some programs to do that. So I don't know, Hamza and Dan, if you want to share our plans for the education, or unless we want to wait till it's finalized. What do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So I think like for now, like the focus, I'll tell you, in Pakistan as of now, I think Pakistan is the second largest, is a country with the second largest youth under the age of 30. So I think 64% of the population at the moment is like under the age of 30, and that's according to a UNICEF report back in 2020. And like that just tells you like, you know, the amount of potential there, and the reason like we really want to help the current generation over there and the future. So what we're actually like implementing this idea of sponsoring a child's education of every client we hire. So like let's say we hire a client, and then we partner up with a client, and they want like a couple services like email marketing and something in IT. So for every service, we'll sponsor a child's education who is not able to go to school just because of the situation within their family, just because they're not able to afford. And then that's how we want to help the future generation. A lot of the people, they really ask, like, let's say, oh, if the client is not going to work with you like after 6 months, what happens to the child, right? So we're coming up with a plan, and I think it's on the final stages. So we'll like our company will sponsor the child for 1 year after the contract ends, and we'll try to find another company to get on board and help that child's education, because we really believe in like having an impact within the families, in the families within Pakistan. And I think our goal for the next year is like having an impact for it within like 500 to 1,000 families by the end of 2024.
That's yeah. I mean, going ahead, giving back, and that spirit of growth is just the number one way, because then you're going to be growing and growing and growing and helping other people. I mean, and the whole reason why you guys started this was just because you wanted to help the people in Pakistan around you. So that brings me to kind of like my next point. Like, how do you guys deal with the cultural differences between like helping with the North America versus, you know, Pakistan, and outsourcing that work?
Yeah, so in terms of the cultural differences, I'll speak to a little bit about it, and I'll pass it on to these guys, just because like I'm from Canada, so I can give that perspective from like me working with them specifically. So I noticed that actually one of the great things about Pakistan is that they have literally one of the best education systems in the world, and they basically after the native language of Urdu, English is taught like very very extremely within them. So they are extremely well and very well versed in communication. Not even like non-verbal, verbal picking up on things. Like they can definitely stand toe to toe with that. And also the culture there is also extremely hardworking. So, and they're even willing to be able to work on the time zone differences within North America, because as Daniel mentioned earlier, right? It's a perfect story. Hamza had to leave his family to be able to come to Canada and work with these international companies here. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to stay with their families. At the end of the day, family is all you got. So they are definitely very strong spirited and willing to adjust the time zone differences, because they get the benefit of exposure to the North American market, as well as being able to stay strong and have a strong family unit. And even that I find really influences the passion and the quality of their work, because they don't just go home and then think about their family. They're like, they have the energy from the family, and they're very they're together, and it's more of a single unit. So I find that really helps as well. Anything you guys want to add? Great, I covered
Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah,
so basically, I believe, like, I think like people here are like, many of the people here are working as an they are working for different companies in Canada, US. Like I believe like people who are graduated, like if they are 100% people graduated, like even 40 or 50% people are already working in other companies from Canada and Australia. And people like English is like their communication skills are really good. They know like what's going on into the world, and they basically try to like break the time barrier themselves. And they are basically like, even the people here are working like, they are working like from 6 to 2, and that's their lifestyle. And many people are doing this work from like big time. So it's like there are no such thing that, because people know like if they are not going to leave their companies, they have to work in that way to grow themselves.
So that brings, we're getting close to time, so I want to give you guys the last question. What's the
Yeah.
difference between you guys and with like Fiverr and Upwork? What's the difference between you guys and them?
Yeah, for sure. So I can take this on because I've actually, for my own personal business with these hats, it's a wood brim cap. No, I'll send you one. I see you like caps. I'll send you
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
I'm
yeah. Yeah. So what I find was that when I was working with Fiverr and Upwork, I was basically just going on trust. I didn't know, I didn't really know if the person was going to get the job done in time. Even though there's reviews, I wasn't sure when it was done. The timelines were always pushed. There was very little accountability. And so, and a lot of the times, like when the project came back, I had to get like 6 or 7 different revisions because it wasn't on point. They ended up charging me more. So it was very difficult for me to really like be able to trust. And I had a very negative experience with these platforms. So one of the key differences that between us is we actually are established in North America. We have a company in North America, so the person can't just simply run off. For example, they know we're here, we're established, we're fully incorporated, and additionally, you don't really know how many hours the person in Fiverr or Upwork is putting in. I know Upwork has like a timer, but it's very difficult to know like did they just leave the timer on, what's going on. So one of the things that we do to help our clients really establish that trust is we offer a we use a digital tool to be able to offer time tracking to our clients, which a lot of companies do not do. And it's a very robust time tracking system where we sit with the client, we understand all the tasks and the responsibilities the person has to do. And then the person simply puts it on, tracks their time, and it actually screenshots their screen every 3 minutes. So, and then we send those screenshots to the clients. So they basically know right away, okay, this person is working, and it really helps bridge the trust. Additionally, one of the good things about us, like we have absolutely zero hidden costs. I know one of our companies that we work with, Fibra, they came to us because they were finding some other companies. And they were very stressing. Is there no hidden cost? Like, is there any other fees? And we say, no, there's no hidden cost. We're very upfront. We're very dependable. And additionally, we offer even a task management software so not only does the client have access to be able to track the tasks of their employee, we are also on top of them and managing them and making sure it gets done. Additionally, we have a server with our clients in case anything ever goes wrong. They message us in the server and we get them support basically 24/7 right away because we do have an office in Pakistan. So if for some reason, if one of their employees is not working, Daniel will make sure either to make sure that they get the job done because it's for their own benefit, or also we have an extensive network of people that can get the job done. So one of the main benefits is like even though some people are getting one person, they almost have the benefit of the entire team, which provides a lot of value for them as well.
That's awesome. I mean, you guys are able to actually, like with Fiverr and Upwork, I've even worked with them as well. And it's like you don't know where they're at. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So you're actually in North America, you're able to actually like have that all, and it's kind of like I feel like it definitely is a lot better. You guys are smaller, so you're able to give a different like experience for the customer, a better experience
Mm-hmm.
because you're able to
Yeah.
actually cater towards them. Is what I'm imagining you guys are able to do.
Yes, exactly. Like we're very, very on point. We always set bi-weekly meetings to see how it's going. We're always trying to feedback and trying to improve. We always make sure the client is extremely satisfied. And we're always thinking about, okay, like what's the next thing they need? How else can we support them? How do we grow their business? Because we don't really see it as like, hey, this person is with me. Great, there's a paycheck for us. We see it as like, okay, this is our partner. We have like almost a fiduciary responsibility to ensure the business grows. So a lot of our minds are thinking about, okay, how can we grow? What can we do? And that's the beautiful thing about this industry. We have experience with so many different clients, so many different industries. We have this amalgamation of knowledge that when a client comes in one specific industry, we can almost have like these synchronicities between all this knowledge to provide them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you all had those that experience already, so you're bringing it in and basically going to the next step. So other than that, like,
Yeah.
what can everybody expect from you guys in the future?
So one of the things, so besides the mission statement that we're doing, we're definitely looking to eventually expand internationally. So offer people from all over the world opportunity to work with North American companies. That's still in the works right now. And currently, we're just focused on growth and providing value to the client. And yeah, so if you're interested, we also have a very special offer for any one of your listeners, if they have a business and if they're interested in working with us. We are extremely, extremely confident within our services. And so if they're interested and they have some work done, we can actually offer them 1 week free. We'll find the person, we'll connect with them, and we'll get them the job done for 1 week free. And absolutely zero risk, zero thing. If they don't want to go with us, then absolutely that's up to them. But we're so confident that we will provide such a good service that we know they will continue.
All right, does everybody hear that? All right. Well, other than that, it was awesome having you guys on. All right, peace out.
Same here,
Thanks,
bro.
boys.
Thank you so much for having
Bye.
us. Take care. Take care.
Really appreciate it.